Success looks attractive from the outside. The discipline, the routines, the grind, the ambition. And because successful people are admired so heavily online, millions of people start copying their habits. Wake up earlier, work longer, stay busier, push harder. At first, it feels productive. It feels like progress. But not every habit that looks successful actually leads to a better life. And that's the dangerous part. Because some habits don't destroy you immediately. They slowly drain you instead. Your energy, your focus, your relationships, your mental clarity. Therefore, what looks like ambition on the surface can quietly become self-destruction underneath. And in today's world, being busy has become a status symbol. People brag about sleeping less, they glorify burnout, they treat exhaustion like proof of importance. But exhaustion is not success. Sometimes, it's just imbalance wearing expensive clothes. The truth is, a lot of modern success habits are misunderstood. People copy the visible behavior without understanding the hidden consequences. Therefore, they end up building lifestyles that look impressive online, but feel miserable in real life. So let's talk about the 7 successful habits that are actually hurting more people than helping them. Because once you see these clearly, you'll stop confusing burnout with progress. 1. Working 24/7 without rest. This habit is everywhere, especially online. The entrepreneur who says he only sleeps 4 hours, the creator posting rise and grind content, the businessman bragging about never taking breaks. And at first, it sounds inspiring. But working non-stop doesn't automatically make you productive. In fact, after a certain point, it usually makes you worse. Your thinking slows down, your creativity drops, your emotional control weakens. Therefore, you start confusing motion with progress. The human brain was never designed to operate under constant pressure forever. Rest is not laziness. Recovery is not weakness. It's maintenance. Look at athletes. Even elite performers rest strategically, because performance without recovery eventually leads to breakdown. But modern hustle culture ignores this completely. People think burnout is the price of success. Therefore, they normalize exhaustion. They stop sleeping properly, they stop exercising, they stop spending time with people they love. And slowly, their entire identity becomes work. Now here's the scary part. When your entire self-worth depends on productivity, rest starts feeling guilty, even when your body desperately needs it. And eventually, you don't feel driven anymore. You feel empty. But because society praises overworking, many people don't realize the damage until they completely crash. 2. Saying yes to every opportunity. This habit sounds smart at first. More opportunities should mean more success, right? Not always. Because every opportunity costs something. Time, energy, attention, focus. And if you say yes to everything, therefore, you eventually become distracted by everything. This is where many ambitious people get trapped. They fear missing out, so they accept every meeting, every project, every collaboration, every invitation. At first, it feels productive, but eventually their life becomes chaotic. Because focus requires elimination. The most successful people in the world are often extremely selective, not because they're lazy, but because they understand attention is limited. Every unnecessary commitment steals energy from what actually matters. Therefore, too many opportunities can quietly destroy momentum. And this becomes even worse online, because social media constantly creates comparison. You see people making money everywhere, new businesses, new trends, new side hustles, and suddenly, everything feels urgent. But chasing every opportunity usually leads to shallow progress everywhere, instead of mastery, instead of depth, instead of long-term growth. Sometimes success is not about saying yes more often. Sometimes it's about knowing what deserves a no. 3. Waking up early without enough sleep. This one became almost symbolic online. Wake up at 4 a.m., cold shower, gym, coffee, work, and visually, it looks disciplined. That's why people love it. But waking up early is useless if your body is exhausted. Sleep deprivation does not equal ambition. It reduces focus. It damages memory. It affects emotional stability. Therefore, many people become less effective while believing they're becoming more disciplined. The problem is, people copy routines without understanding context. A millionaire waking up at 5 a.m. after getting 8 hours of sleep is very different from someone sleeping 4 hours just to imitate discipline. And over time, lack of sleep compounds. Your decision-making gets worse, your patience weakens, your stress increases. But because society praises early risers, many people ignore how unhealthy they actually feel. Real discipline is not destroying your health for aesthetic routines. It's building habits that are sustainable long-term. Because eventually, your body always collects the debt, and sleep debt is expensive. 4. Obsessing over productivity all day. This habit feels modern. Optimized schedules, time blocking, tracking every minute. watching productivity videos constantly. At first, it feels efficient, but eventually, many people stop living life and start managing it like robots. Everything becomes about output. How can I maximize this? How can I optimize that? How can I do more faster? And slowly, peace disappears. Because productivity itself can become addictive. You start feeling guilty while resting, guilty while relaxing, guilty while doing nothing. Therefore, your mind never fully slows down. Now here's the irony. Obsessing over productivity often reduces actual creativity. Because creativity needs space. It needs boredom sometimes. It needs reflection. But constant optimization removes breathing room. And eventually, life starts feeling mechanical. You become efficient, but emotionally disconnected. The goal of productivity was supposed to improve life, not replace it. And many people forget that completely. 5. Spending money to look successful. This one destroys more people financially than they realize, because modern success is heavily visual. Luxury cars, designer clothes, expensive watches, fancy restaurants. Online, it looks impressive, but many people are secretly financing appearances instead of building actual wealth. That's the trap, because social media rewards image, not financial stability. Nobody sees your savings account. Nobody sees your investments quietly growing, but everyone sees visible luxury. Therefore, people start spending money to signal status, and eventually, their lifestyle becomes performance. They buy things not because they truly value them, but because they want validation. This creates enormous pressure, because maintaining an image is expensive, and once people get used to appearing successful, going backwards feels embarrassing. Therefore, they keep overspending, even when financially stressed. Now here's the truth. Real wealth is often much quieter than fake wealth. Actually, rich people usually value freedom more than attention, but insecure people often chase attention first. And sadly, many people spend years looking rich online, while secretly living paycheck to paycheck offline. 6. Comparing yourself to rich people online. This habit quietly destroys confidence, because online, you only see highlights. The cars, the vacations, the success stories, the big wins. You rarely see the stress, the failures, the sacrifices. But the human brain naturally compares. So after enough scrolling, people start feeling behind in life, even when they're doing perfectly fine. Therefore, comparison creates dissatisfaction. And the dangerous part is, comparison changes your timeline. Suddenly, normal progress feels slow. You expect instant success, instant money, instant results. But real growth usually takes years. Quiet years, invisible years. And social media completely distorts that reality. People see someone successful at 25 without seeing the decade of work behind it. Therefore, they become impatient with their own journey. This impatience creates emotional decisions. People take reckless risks. They chase shortcuts. They abandon long-term plans too early, all because they feel behind. And most of the time, they're comparing their real life to someone else's carefully edited highlight reel. That comparison is unfair from the start. 7. Turning every hobby into a side hustle. This habit sounds ambitious. Monetize your passion. Turn hobbies into income. Always make money from your skills. At first, it sounds smart, but not everything needs to become business, and many people forget that. Some hobbies exist to protect your mental health, to relax you, to help you disconnect, to bring joy without pressure. But once money enters the picture, the relationship changes. Now every hobby has expectations, deadlines, performance pressure, monetization goals. Therefore, something that once gave peace starts feeling like work. This creates a strange modern problem. People become productive constantly, but rarely feel rested emotionally because even their free time becomes performance-driven. And eventually, they lose the ability to simply enjoy things. Everything becomes transactional. What can I gain from this? How can I monetize this? How can I turn this into content? But life cannot survive without spaces that feel human. Not every moment needs optimization. Not every passion needs profit. Sometimes joy itself is valuable enough. Now let's be clear. Ambition is not bad. Discipline is not bad. Hard work is not bad. But balance matters. And modern culture often ignores that completely, because many people today aren't chasing success anymore. They're chasing the appearance of success. And those are very different things. Real success should improve your life, your health, your peace, your relationships, your freedom. But if your habits destroy all of those things, then what exactly are you building? That's the question most people avoid, because busyness feels easier than self-awareness. And honestly, Some people stay exhausted because exhaustion makes them feel important. It gives them identity, it gives them validation. But constant stress is not proof of value. The goal is not to become a machine. The goal is to build a life that actually feels worth living. And sometimes, the smartest thing you can do is slow down enough to think clearly again. Because success without health eventually feels empty. Success without peace eventually feels exhausting. Success without freedom eventually feels fake. That's why balance matters more than appearance, and sustainability matters more than intensity. So, if you remember anything from this video, remember this. Not every habit praised online deserves to be copied. Some habits create wealth, but destroy happiness. Some habits create attention, but destroy peace. Some habits create image, but destroy real freedom. And the hardest part? Many people don't realize the damage until years later. So don't just ask, does this look successful? Ask something deeper. Is this actually building a better life? Because real success is not about constantly proving yourself. It's about creating a life you don't secretly want to escape from, and that changes everything.